Good morning, fathers of daughters. This is Ephraim B. Martin. I'm 58 years old, and I am a girl dad. Another beautiful day here, Sunday morning in beautiful state of Colorado, Denver, Colorado. Fathers, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for following me. Thank you for subscribing to me. And thank you for giving me likes on my live streams. So we have another live stream today. As you can see up in the right-hand corner, I have a banner of my book, Daddy's Girls. It is sold at Amazon.com and can be purchased there. So, fathers, what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about our daughters and the criminal justice system. Okay? I am a former state of Colorado juvenile probation officer. I worked in the criminal justice system for 20 years. So I have a very thorough understanding of the criminal justice system and have a very thorough understanding of what could happen to our daughters if they end up in the criminal justice system. So fathers, that's what I want to talk about today. I want to give you an insight as to what could possibly happen if our daughters end up in the criminal justice system. And it's just not good. It's not something that we want. And we just have to make sure that we do everything in our power that our daughters don't end up there. Okay? So the first thing I like to say is when it comes to the criminal justice system and our daughters, the criminal justice system is very, very complex. Okay? Our daughters, typically, when I was a probation officer, in the state of Colorado, girls can be adjudicated at the age of 10. Well, any child in the state of Colorado can be adjudicated at the age of 10 years of age, all the way up to 17 as a juvenile. And then adults are 18 years or older. Now, there's a big difference between the juvenile justice system and the adult system. The major difference between the juvenile justice system and the adult systems is this. The juvenile justice system is basically a system for rehabilitation for juveniles. Okay, children are actually adjudicated, they're not convicted. They're adjudicated, which means that they have an opportunity to go through the system, get rehabilitated, and eventually expunge their records. That's not so much the case in the adult system. The adult criminal justice system is all about convictions. It's not about rehabilitation. And plain and simple, the adult system is about punishment. So those are the two differences between the juvenile justice system and the adult system. Now, when it comes to our daughters, fathers, typically when would our daughters end up in the criminal justice system, in the juvenile justice system? Well, my experience has taught me that most of our daughters, they're going to get into trouble between the ages of 10 and 15 if they're going to end up in the criminal justice system. Most of the girls that I supervised on probation between the ages of 10 and 15, most of them ended up in the juvenile justice system for running away from home, having a lot of issues at home with their parents, particularly with their mother, not getting along with their mother, not listening to their mothers, because I had a lot of girls that I supervised that were led by single mother households. So a lot of these young ladies, you know, when they're 10, 11, 12, and if they're in middle school, a lot of things escalate at middle school. A lot of things can happen at middle school, okay? A lot of these young ladies, typically they could end up in the juvenile court system as well as the family court system at the very same time. A lot of girls I supervised were in both systems. They had parents that had been divorced or were fighting for custody in family court, and they ended up getting a case in juvenile court. So it could get very, very crazy. It could become a situation where our daughters, like I said, if they're running away from home, you know, they end up doing drugs. That was most of the girls that I supervised. Most of them were using drugs, controlled substances, and They ended up, if they were running away from home, they ended up getting picked up and ended up being taken to social services. Now, in the state of Colorado, social services is known as Department of Human Services. In many other states, it's known as Child Protection Services. Pretty much the same thing, just a different name, okay? And typically what will happen to our daughters, let's say they're running away from home. They're not coming home. The parents would call law enforcement. They would issue a runaway report on our daughters to try to get them picked up. And then what would happen is once our daughters get picked up, they're taken to a juvenile detention center. Okay? Now, when it comes to the juvenile detention centers, our daughters, if they're picked up, when they're picked up, and when they're taken to the juvenile detention centers are not going to be good. Okay? Because a lot of things can happen in juvenile detention centers. For instance, some of our daughters, they could be sexually assaulted or assaulted. Some of our daughters, they can fight. They end up fighting a lot of times, even though they're in a girls' pod, fighting with other little girls, and it just escalates. So it's never a good situation for our daughters. And this is the time for fathers, when our daughters are 10 years of age, going into 11 years of age, it's a totally different transition for our daughters. I spoke about that last week when I spoke about mean girls equals middle school girls. Our daughters, when they get to middle school, things are going to happen. That's when they have emotional highs. That's when they have emotional lows. So our daughters are going to have and that's when they're going through puberty. So our daughters are going to be having a range of things that are going on, fathers. And like I said last week, this is not the time for fathers to fall back and check out. This is the time for us to be diligent, and this is the time for us to be consistent. Because when our daughters are going through whatever they're going through, with puberty and, trying to maintain relationships with their friends and other little girls, a lot of them just get lost in the transition. So fathers, it's very, very important that we pay attention to their mood changes and their mood behaviors, okay? Because that is a clear sign. If our daughters are changing with their moods all the time and sudden changes with their friends changing, there is a problem, fathers, okay? So we have to make sure that we are paying attention to that, and we have to make sure that we intervene with our daughters. And we have to make sure that we are finding interventions for them if they require interventions. Now, a lot of times, how our daughters end up in the juvenile justice system, like I said, it is typically most little girls start running away from home. Okay? And that's where it becomes a danger for our little girls, because predators are waiting for them, right? You could see in the description, I have a lot of research on studies, and I have a lot of videos that are available for fathers to be able to look at and for fathers to take a look at, okay? Make sure that you're going through the studies and reading these studies to see exactly what's going on, fathers, because there's a lot of available research for us. And we just need to make sure that we're doing everything in our power as their dads to ensure that they do not, and I repeat, that they do not end up in the criminal justice system. The criminal justice system can do nothing for our daughters but make them worse. That's all the criminal justice system is good for. Even though the juvenile justice system is used for rehabilitation, our daughters will learn a lot of bad habits. And our daughters will not be the same once we get them back at home. I can promise you that. Okay? Typically with little girls, if they end up in the juvenile justice system and they're running away from home and they're not listening to their parents and we don't know where they're at, they're going to be prostituted. That's what is going to happen to many of them. Not only are they going to be prostituted, they're going to be sexually assaulted during that prostitution. you know, 10, 11, 12, their bodies are growing and their bodies are developing. Predators are not the men that are sitting behind a computer 50, 60, 70 years old. Predators are 15, 16, 17, 18. Predators are 20, 21, and 22. And I'm telling you, they are waiting for our daughters, okay? Because they don't give a damn about how young our daughters are. They will use our little girls. They will abuse our little girls. They will pimp our daughters out, okay? So we don't need our daughters in the juvenile justice system. We don't need them pimped out. We don't need them sexually assaulted. But that's what's going to happen to them a lot of times if they end up in the juvenile justice system. So fathers, how can we prevent our daughters from ending up in the juvenile justice system? Very simple, fathers. We have to be a part of their life, okay? We have to be there from birth until they're 18. That is the one sure way we can make sure they do not ever end up in the juvenile justice system. I raised four daughters, okay? I know what I'm talking about. We have an obligation to always provide protection and safety for our daughters, fathers. So we have our work cut out for us. It's not going to be easy because our daughters are going to be catching hell from all ends. They're going to be catching hell from school. They're going to be catching hell from their environment. And a lot of our daughters are going to be catching hell from home. Okay? So fathers of daughters, we have to make sure that we do everything in our power to be talking with our daughters on a daily basis, checking in with our daughters on a daily basis, and we have to make sure that they're safe. Okay. I would tell you this, fathers. I started talking to all of my daughters. I have 4 adult daughters now about their bodies at about the age of 5. And the reason I did that was because I needed my daughters to understand what safety is and that no one is to touch them inappropriately and no one is to talk to them inappropriately about their bodies. Okay? We have to have these hard discussions and we have to have these discussions, fathers, with our daughters, because if they don't, trust me, them homeboys down the block, they're waiting for them. You know, they're watching them grow. They're watching them get older. And these little boys, they're waiting for them. Okay? So fathers, we have to have those discussions with our daughters, talking about their bodies, letting them know what's appropriate, letting them know what's inappropriate, letting them know that if there's any issues or anything that they need to talk about regarding their bodies or regarding their protection and safety, that they can come to their fathers, okay? We have to do that, fathers, because we do not want them going to another man or anyone else trying to get that information. That has to come from us. That should come from us. And we have to have those discussions with our daughters because that's the safest space that they're going to have is with their fathers, okay? The juvenile justice system. So, fathers, as long as we're in their life, okay, we're going to make sure. We're definitely going to make sure that they don't end up in the juvenile justice system. Watch, like I said, watch their behaviors, fathers, okay? Any sudden changes, Dad, I'm not telling you to freak out. But what I am saying, you have to watch and you have to be sure. One of the biggest changes with our daughters is if they switch friends, okay? You have to be aware of that. You have to know who their friends are and who they are hanging out with once they leave the house. Because we don't know, okay? You could be the best parent. You can have the best intentions. But if you don't know who your daughters are hanging out with and who they're spending time with, that's a problem, fathers. All right? So we have to make sure we do our due diligence. We have to make sure we are going up to their schools. We have to make sure we are popping in on them. And we have to make sure that we're talking to them. Okay? And by doing all those things, fathers, that's going to ensure that our daughters do not end up in the juvenile justice system. Okay? Fathers, we do not want social services, child protection services, or the Department of Human Services in our life. I'm telling you. Okay? The more people that we have in our life, from the juvenile justice system and the criminal justice system, the more of a problem it's going to be for us. If our daughters ever end up on probation, the entire family is on probation. Okay? Depending on what they got probation for, you're going to be responsible for getting them to and from probation meetings. You're going to be responsible for getting them to and from drug and alcohol counseling, classes, anger management. It becomes a big deal. And I'm telling you, not only does it become a big deal emotionally, it becomes a big deal financially, right? That money that is going to the criminal justice system could be staying in the household. All right? So, fathers, what I want to do, some of the things that the juvenile justice system, it's just not good. Okay, I can tell you about a lot of different situations with a lot of girls that I had on probation. And there's nothing good that can come out of the juvenile justice system when it comes to our daughters. Nothing good at all, fathers. So we just got to make sure that we are doing everything in our power to stay in their lives. You know, we have to make sure we have a good relationship with their mothers. We have to make sure we have a good relationship with them, right? And we have to make our daughters feel safe enough to be able to come to us and be able to have those discussions with us about anything and everything, okay? You do not want your daughters going to another man talking about what is going on with her. If she's got some things going on personally with her, you know, if she's got some physical things going on, we're her fathers, right? And fathers need to be aware, and we need to make sure we are making those decisions, not another man. That can never turn out good, fathers. So that's pretty much it. I wanted to dive into the juvenile justice system. And like I said, feel free to look at the description. I have a lot of different available information in there. I have a lot of research. I have a lot of studies. I have some great videos. YouTube is great for videos. And, you know, that's pretty much it, dads. I will be doing a live stream every week this point forward, talking about a lot of different things with our daughters. I believe my book, Daddy's Girls, is a blueprint for raising our daughters. Okay? I'm not trying to tell fathers, do it my way. But what I've been able to do is I've been able to put together a book that is very simplistic, very direct, and very helpful. And it will definitely help you. So like I said, fathers, feel free to purchase my book through Amazon.com. Okay, dads, once again, it's been a pleasure. Hang in there, fathers. Continue to do what you do. Love them baby girls. And let's do what we do as dads. Let's keep them protected and let's keep them safe. All right, fathers, until next week, I'm out. Have a blessed week and do what we do as fathers. All right, fathers, peace.